welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of Steelers Nation. It is a beautiful, beautifully cold day here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You are listening to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Like this video, be a friend, tell a friend to come hang out and subscribe. I'm your host, Noah Schreckbein, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my man in the beautiful hat, Donnie Julian. Donnie, how you feeling? You looking good, my friend.
Look good, feel good, bro, as the great Deion Sanders once said. I apologize to everybody else who couldn't hear me for the last couple episodes, I guess. I think we found the elixir, TBH.
Oh, well, there you go. It only took, 2 weeks now? 2 weeks.
Something like that, yeah. Who's
2
counting?
weeks, no volume. And I've gone back and listened to them all, and I'm out here like screaming. And then you're just like, yeah, and I do think that the Steelers are going to be good. And I'm like, all right, well, here we are. Before we get going here, we got plenty to talk about. Mock drafts. Me and Derek both released our mock draft 2.0. Fun stuff. People aren't going to like our pick, but it is what it is. Terrell Edmunds still not re-signed. The Pittsburgh Steelers have basically shut down rumors of Tyrann Mathieu. So who's left? Who are their options? And nobody's talking about it yet, but at some point the Steelers are going to have to cut one of their quarterbacks, and it could be Mason Rudolph. But first, shout out our boy Connor. We appreciate you as much as I think you appreciate us. So thank you so much. Donnie, let's dive right into it here.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers still do not have a strong safety. Kevin Colbert was 100% clear by saying we have 21 of 22 or 24 of 25 starters. However, he broke it down. I would love to know who wide receiver 3 is because I don't believe that they have one. Strong safety was the only starting position he said is still up for grabs. They don't have a solidified starter. Terrell Edmunds not re-signed. And then he said that they are not looking for a guy past his second contract or in the range of his second contract to go out and sign. So immediately said Tyrann Mathieu, not going to happen. Where do the Steelers go from here? Is it back to just Terrell Edmunds or bust?
Yeah, I think we've been very adamant that continuity has been a very, very big thing on the Steelers defense. I think the words of Minka telling the entire world that he would love to have Edmunds back and play with them certainly kept Edmunds in the back pocket. I think Terrell wanted to test the market, and rightfully so, because as a player, you always want to see what's available out there for you. I don't think he got the responses he was looking for exactly, just in terms of financial. I think that's a very good thing for the Steelers, who would probably like to have him back, because I do feel like he has progressed slowly over the last few years that he's been in Pittsburgh. Not at the price tag he was going to get on that fifth-year option, nor on the price tag that he wanted to get on the open market. I think now that we've seen probably a majority of the safeties settle and, sign elsewhere, and, we got the draft coming up in less than a month, actually. We're less than 30 days away from it, so that's super exciting. I think the closer to the draft that we'll get, the more kind of an emphasis, hey, I need to sign somewhere, because the last thing I want to happen is for me not to sign anywhere, and for this team I want to sign with to go and draft somebody early. Now I'm SOL, you feel?
Yeah. And at this point, the draft is loaded in safeties. Nobody's got to worry there. Terrell Edmunds, people are starting to make the argument on Twitter, like, why are people recognizing that Terrell Edmunds is a good safety? He's a solid player. Don't get me wrong. I think Terrell Edmunds is a starter in the NFL. I think for what he is, he's pretty good at it. He's impressed the last 2 years, at least in my opinion. And people are like, oh, he's a terrible coverage guy. He is a terrible coverage guy, but he's a terrible coverage guy who's come up with 2 interceptions the last 2 seasons. So that makes me feel at least better that he has some upside when it comes to guarding someone in the open field. I don't know if he got any contracts or any love out there in free agency. I'm sure he got something somewhere. I'm more interested to know if the Steelers were one of them. The Steelers reached out to Ahkello Witherspoon right from the jump, said, we want to re-sign you. They made an offer to Juju Smith-Schuster, even though he went to Kansas City. I want to know if Terrell Edmunds was on that list and if he was a guy that they said, hey, we'll bring you back on a 2-year deal It's not going to be a boatload of money, but we think you could be part of the team moving forward. And I wonder if Terrell was like, no, I deserve a 5-year contract, major bucks, $10 million a year, because I'm a former first-round pick. I think that could play a big role. And if that's the case, if the Steelers already made an offer to this guy, are they going to go make another one? Or are they just going to sit around and say, oh, we tried, you said no?
It might be a little bit of both, and you have to think. Reality is oftentimes not what these guys think heading into free agency, and I think more than anything, it does humble a lot of guys. A lot of the times, guys will want to return to the team they previously played on, just even on a 1-year deal to try to go out and prove, hey, you know what, I'm this baller. The rest of the 31 other teams in the NFL missed out on me. Let me sign a 1-year deal. Let me ball out next year. And then with the cap jumping up next year, maybe teams would be willing to spend a little bit more money, even though you're just 1 year older.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong there, and I'm sure that is part of his thinking. I don't know. What are the options if he doesn't come? Say Terrell Edmunds is off the board. He's not coming back to Pittsburgh. It's done. It's over with. People are saying DeMonte KZ is an option for the Steelers. Yeah. I'm not really sold on that guy. I think he's a free safety who might play strong safety. I don't really know, to be honest. Not as good in the run support, not as big by no means. I don't know. I'm not totally sold. Outside of that, doesn't feel like there's anybody in free agency. You got to go straight to the NFL draft, right?
Yeah, so Jabril Peppers signed probably half an hour to an hour before we started recording this podcast. So he was a guy that a lot of Steeler fans have kind of pegged as a replacement for Edmunds. He's off of the board now. KZ's still a guy out there. Nick Cross is another guy Derek mentioned in his, hey, here's a couple safeties the Steelers should go and grab article. I think he'd be solid for Pittsburgh. I believe he's still available on the market. But yeah, I think at this point it's either Edmunds or you go to the NFL draft. But one thing I did want to bring up to you, if need be, and it's a very big if, how confident are you in Trey Norwood?
0% confident. I'm 0% confident. That is a terrible, terrible move if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like Trey Norwood, and I think he's got a ton of potential, especially for a 7th-round guy. I think in a year or two, he might be a starting safety in the NFL. But I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar starting safety. I think he's just going to be like this guy's pretty good for what he is, and I think you could find a million of those guys. Now, Trey Norwood being as intelligent as he is, being as versatile as he is, I think that he's the perfect chess piece for that secondary.
Yeah.
If he has to lock in there at strong, I mean, even if, first off, strong safety, 0 chance. You can't put a guy who's 5'4", 160 pounds at strong safety and say, go ahead, man. We talked a year ago during the preseason about how he was afraid to tackle people. You can't put that guy as your run support safety. Cannot happen. Also, if you put Trey Norwood at strong safety and start him at safety, who's the chess piece? Arthur Millette? Yeah, but Cam Sutton's going to start on the outside. I get people like the Akella Witherspoon, Levi Wallace guy, but Cam Sutton's still their outside corner 1. And I just don't think, Arthur Millette would be the only guy that has that range. I don't feel good about that whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that either.
I think you need Trey Norwood. Now, bringing a rookie in, and even if it's a mid-round rookie like Cross that you mentioned out of Maryland, if it's a mid-round rookie where they have to split some time and maybe all 3 of them have a rotating, combination and Minka, Norwood, and Cross, then I feel okay with that. But I don't know. I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers go to the NFL draft, though. I think at this point, if it's not Terrell Edmunds, Pittsburgh's going to end up taking a guy in the 3rd or 4th round and saying, this is our starter. And maybe he's not really good right now, but he could be a starter in a year or 2. Let me ask you this before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's a possibility that they pull another Terrell Edmunds and reach for a defensive back? Say most of them are out the Sign or Kine out of Georgia, Daxton Hill, all those guys are already gone. 20th pick, or even in the 2nd round. Do you think they reach on a guy and say, we need this guy because we need a safety? You think they get a little desperate?
I can see them definitely reaching for a guy in the 2nd round. And by no means am I ever putting past a reach for this organization, especially in the first round, especially after the picks that we have seen on the defensive side of the ball with them reaching in the last couple of years. But dude, like after Kyle Hamilton, that safety class gets kind of dry, at least in terms of talking about first round potential. Daxton Hill out of Michigan, you already put him in out. Jaquan Brisker from Penn State is another big guy. A lot of people like Kirby Joseph from Illinois.
Yep.
Those are all like solid day two guys I would definitely keep my eye out on. And I feel like while I just said the safety class is a little bit top heavy, if you can get a solid contributor on day two to plug in next to Minka, and like you're taking a lot of pressure off of him, keeping Minka playing that center field role and having guys like Cam Sutton, Akella Witherspoon, Levi Wallace in secondary, to help him out. You could really bring a guy like that along because like there's talented guys in this draft. I just don't know outside of Kyle Hamilton that like I'm really feeling good if the Steelers reach for somebody at pick number 20.
Yeah, I'd be if they. I mean, pick 20, the end of the first round. It depends because at this point, like we're all talking, and we're going to get into it in a minute that they're going to reach on a quarterback and they're going to reach pretty heavy. So, if we're being honest, I'd much rather them reach at a safety because I think the safety class is a lot better than the quarterback class, and use that for the 20th pick. Either way, though, I think that the 20th pick is going to be a quarterback, and I think starting the second round, you might see guys where all those names that you just mentioned might already be off the board, and I think there's a part of them that might still go, well, we need a safety, so we got to go take a safety, and that's 2 wasted picks in this draft. That's bad. Derek, I believe in the 3rd round, has the Steelers taking Cross, and I also believe that he explains that they plug him into the starting round in his latest mock draft. So I wouldn't feel upset about that one. I still think that Terrell Edmunds is on the hunt, though. But again, it goes full circle because I think that if they already offered Edmunds something and he didn't want it and he doesn't make a phone call back to them, they'll move on and they won't care whatsoever. All right, I do want to get into me and Derek both released our mock drafts, but we'll only crap on me here for a second. And Nathan, I promise I'm getting to your comments here in a second. Here is what we're looking at for me now. I already know people are not about Desmond Ridder with the 20th pick in the draft. I understand it. I don't want the Steelers to draft a quarterback. I do not think it is a good move, but we've hit that point in the offseason where it is no longer about what we want or believe the Steelers need. It is about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are saying is going to happen, and it is pretty cut and clear that Desmond Ridder and a quarterback is on their roster or is on their first-round ballot. That being said, Malik Willis will be gone. I believe in pick 2. I think Detroit's going to take him. I think even if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go number 1, I think Detroit takes Malik Willis because he's a quarterback, and people love their quarterbacks. I also think Kenny Pickett goes at 6 to Carolina, and I think then there's a gap. So the rest of the first round outside of 3 teams get really good draft picks. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Carolina Panthers, and the Detroit Lions get quarterbacks that nobody likes. I do want to address Nathan's comment here about a wide receiver in the 2nd and the 4th. Look, I agree, and we've, again, have to jump on the bandwagon here that it is no longer about what we believe the Steelers need and more about what the Steelers are telling us. The Steelers are not adding any wide receiver help. They're just letting it go. And I believe that right now, their best bet is to go get a guy in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 2nd round, and then grab another guy before the 7th round. That gives them 2 options to fill it in. Hopefully Anthony Miller does anything at all to be a 5th wide receiver, maybe a 4th, depending on how Danny Gray turns out. And with the speed, I get that as well. But the Steelers are revolving back to a speed wide receiver room. This is Matt Canada's offense now. This is not Ben Roethlisberger's offense. They don't care about the Chase Claypools. They want the shifty dudes, Sky Moore and Danny Gray. Very, very, very shifty moves. Donnie, I'll let you crap on me for a second here. What are your thoughts on my mock draft?
Yeah, I would not be a fan of 2 receivers in the first 4 rounds. We can cut the fat authors argument and go just straight to the meat of it. Desmond Ridder at 20. Um, I think we all kind of feel that guys like Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett are going to be gone by the time the Steelers are on the board. Matt Corral is definitely an option there. I do feel like Desmond Ridder is very overlooked in this class for whatever reason. I get the Cincinnati thing, and I definitely get the whole level of play and competition, and whatever it might be. I get his college football playoff game didn't exactly go well and do wonders for his draft stock like everybody would have hoped to. I still feel like he put up solid numbers. I still feel like there's a lot of upside there. Maybe not upside like Malik Willis in terms of potential ceiling. But if you're taking the quarterback in the first round, like, you have to swing for the fences. Like, taking a safe guy, and this is the argument against Kenny Pickett, taking a safe guy in the first round is not going to do your organization any wonders. You want a Patrick Mahomes. You want a Josh Allen. You want a Justin Herbert. You want guys like that.
Yep.
And so, do you think Desmond Ridder can be one of those guys?
I don't. I truly don't. I will say this, though. I think that he has upside to the point where you could feel like maybe he could turn into something. I don't know what that something is. Like, for a while, I wanted to compare him to Jalen Hurts. For a while, I wanted to compare him to, I don't know, a couple of other quarterbacks, but I just don't think that Desmond Ridder is Desmond Ridder. Like, he's a dude that has more leadership than anybody in this draft. He is the leader. Like, and there's no questions there. But that's cool. There's a million quarterbacks out there who could lead. Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have any of them. I think that he's working with Jordan Palmer, which makes me feel very good about him improving his mechanics, but that's what it is. It comes down to his mechanics. His feet work are atrocious. He leans off his back foot way too much when he's throwing the football. I just think that there's a lot of in him. That being said, his athleticism might be able to pick up the slack that his throwing ability can't reach. And at the same time, I don't know what Matt Canada's offense is going to look like, because if it's a bunch of shiftiness and it's a bunch of we're getting the ball in the hands of our playmakers, maybe Desmond Ridder could work long term. But if we're just cut and dry, right on a piece of paper, this is what we're saying. If you're asking me if Desmond Ridder could win you a Super Bowl, the answer is no.
I feel a little more comfortable taking Ridder with an added quarterback like Trubisky on the roster now, just because I know there should not be any pressure on maybe a guy like Ridder to go in there and win the Steelers games immediately when he probably won't be ready to do that. I do wonder, though, if the Steelers feel like they might not be in a position to go get a quarterback next year, like a top quarterback prospect next year, and they feel like they need to walk away in this draft with the quarterback that they could potentially build for in the future.
Yep,
I will say, though, sorry, before you go, I do like Ridder over guys like Corral, Strong, pretty much, and any of the guys other than like Malik Willis, and then I do like Kenny Pickett a little bit more than him. Everybody else, though, Ridder's probably my quarterback 3 in his class.
I believe Ridder's my quarterback 3. I think Sam Howell might be my quarterback 4, and I don't feel real good about Howell. But I also think that people are just immediately comparing Howell to Baker Mayfield and then moving on with the conversation without being like, well, actually, like, I get he looks like him, but he's had some moments that look very good as a quarterback, and the Steelers do like him. I think he's a possibility there. I do want to bring up this comment real quick, because the combine is very true, and that will win you or lose you the draft for a player like Desmond Ridder. That being said, like, quarterback hype alone is going to win you the draft. If you're a guy, Desmond Ridder should not be drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Matt Corral probably shouldn't be drafted in the first 4 rounds. And if we're being honest, if this was last year or next year, Kenny Pickett is not a first-round pick. Malik Willis might sneak his way in there as like a late rounder that people are like, oh, maybe he's the next Lamar Jackson. But the rest of these guys, I mean, they're just using the off-season hype to climb up the draft boards. personal opinion is none of them have the attributes to be a starting quarterback for at least a year, maybe two, and teams are going to have to be pushed into situations. Unfortunately, that team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they're going to take the biggest blow here because of it. I think that they're going to sit there, they're going to take a quarterback, either Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, whoever, and they're going to realize very quickly that he's not developing as quickly as he needs to be. And the fans are going to be pretty much over Mitchell Trubisky the second a guy walks into the stadium. Like, it's not going to take much time before people are saying, okay, Mitch is cool. Let's get this next quarterback moving, start to develop him, because not everybody realizes, like, you're not going to develop well on the football field because that's just too much pressure. I just think the Steelers are backing themselves into a very, very bad corner here.
So I do want to bring up Nathan's comment there in the chat about the combine just verifies tape. I feel like a lot of people look at the combine and look at the numbers and kind of really hold that to be like biblical truth. I think the most important part of the combine is not even like the on-field performances, and while that can help or not help your draft stock, obviously, I think the most important part is like meeting with these kids face to face, getting to interview them, and most importantly for a lot of guys, Carson Strong, the medicals. Because every year there's guys with like question marks about their overall health, and then like they finally get a chance to see with their own eyes and their own team doctors. They get to evaluate these kids and not just take a school's word for it. Now, did Desmond Ridder impress at the combine enough to make himself a first-round pick? Probably not. But I think, and this goes back to a comment that Mike Tomlin had previously made, the Steelers have a organizational business structure that they stick to, and they do not keep up with the Joneses. They do not. They do not care what the outside world thinks. They're going to do what their game plan suggests that they do. I think if they want to take a quarterback and they want to develop a guy like Ridder, it does kind of make sense for him to go in the first round, because you do get that fifth-year option to whether, if you don't think he's anything in 3 years, decline it. If you think there might be something there, take that fifth-year option, and then, hopefully by year 4, year 5, you have a better understanding of where you're going to be at. But the only problem is that I don't think the Steelers Super Bowl window is that big. I really don't. And so are you going to waste draft capital and everybody else's time, guys like Minka, guys like TJ on this team? Are you going to waste their time by taking a rookie quarterback who is not going to push you to a Lombardi trophy in that time frame?
So I think yes, because even if he doesn't push you to a Lombardi trophy during that time, they have enough faith in Mitchell Trubisky to be the guy that doesn't lose them a Super Bowl, which I feel pretty good about Mitchell Trubisky not losing a Super Bowl. Like, if the Steelers have a dominant team around Mitchell Trubisky, I think Mitchell Trubisky could run the football well enough and game manage whatever offense he needs to game manage enough to win some football games. Enough football games to keep you in that Super Bowl loop. That being said, I also don't think that I get your argument that like you want to fill those other needs, but just in the argument of the Steelers, I do believe that they have a team that's like almost ready to push for a Super Bowl. Like they need a lot to click. They need their offensive line to click so bad. And we don't know if their offensive line is going to be good or not. They obviously added some pieces and we feel good about those pieces, but I have no idea if the offensive line is going to be good. At the same time, the defense definitely improved. Like immediately got better. Joe Hayden was obviously on his last leg that last season in Pittsburgh. I like Levi Wallace. They still need a strong safety, but I think that you could get Terrell Edmunds or match Terrell Edmunds before the season. Defensive line, same questions as last year. I don't know what you do about that. I guess if we're going to digest everything here. And linebackers obviously got better. I think it just comes down to like they have to somewhat feel that in the next 5 years, Desmond Ridder could win them the Super Bowl. And I don't know if he could do that. Like I believe Mitchell Trubisky could stay at a point where he doesn't lose you a Super Bowl. I don't know if Desmond Ridder could get to that point where he just could be the quarterback, like just be here, just be Jimmy Garoppolo and don't lose us the game. I don't know if he could get there. I really, really don't.
I think at the end of the day, and we've talked about this before, and you just brought up a really good point. The Steelers feel like they are just a couple pieces away from being a very good football team that could potentially make a playoff push. If you were to draft Ridder in the first or second round, wherever it may be, and you get him that year experience and you feel really good about where he's at, and by the way, there's a very easy out in Mitchell Trubisky's contract after this first year, the first of 2 years that you signed for. There's a very easy out. So if they take somebody and they like him, Trubisky can be gone like that. Mason's on a 1 year deal, correct?
Mason's on a 1 year deal. 1 year, it's like $1 million.
So do you build the defense up and do you hope that offensive line clicks and then you give Ridder a year and then in 2023 you're like, all right, let's roll the dice, see how it works out?
Oh, that's exactly what you're going to do. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, unless Mitchell Trubisky becomes a starting quarterback again, like a true-blooded, killing it starting quarterback, he's gone after this season. To Doc's question here, I do not think that Ridder falls to the second round. I also don't believe Matt Corral or Sam Howell fall to the 52nd pick. Yeah.
That is the world's greatest question right now, at least in the world of the Steelers. My problem is if you're an organization who wants to go get a quarterback, you don't wait for him. You can't test the waters. You do not let something like that happen. Because, like, okay, let's say Detroit doesn't take a quarterback at number 2. They go like Aiden Hutchinson or like whatever offensive tackle they feel fit. If they see Ridder start to fall around that like 23, 24 range, I'm picking up the phone and I'm making a deal to go get Ridder at the end of the first round. I'm moving up with my second round pick, whatever draft capital I have.
Yeah, any of them. I mean, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and your quarterback, and Nathan has a good comment in here about how, we don't know if it's going to be Ridder or if their top guys Corral or Howell. I'm just assuming Ridder because that's what I've heard. That's the buzz I've been circulating around. If it's Howell, if it's Corral, if it's Ridder, if it's Carson Strong, it doesn't matter, which it's not Carson Strong, but just in case, you take him at 20. It does not matter how high or low you have him on the board. You take that person, that quarterback at 20, if that's your go-to. It's just like the Terrell Edmunds thing. The Steelers wanted a safety. Mike Tomlin will tell you straight up, in 2017, we wanted a safety. We were getting a safety. This year, we want a quarterback. We're going to take a quarterback. They haven't said that out loud yet, but after the draft, that's all they're going to be talking about. We wanted a quarterback. We were taking a quarterback. They needed a running back. They were taking a running back. That's what it was. They have their pick. They have their position. They're going to draft whoever's left on the board that they believe is number 1 out of their quarterback rankings. Let me ask you this, though, before we move on. What is your quarterback rankings? I asked this to Derek on Friday. We agreed and disagreed to some point. But out of those 5, out of Pickett, Willis, Ridder, Corral, and Howell, what are your 5 quarterbacks here?
I'm a really big upside guy. And so whenever I put together quarterback rankings, I really try to see. I've always been in the mindset of you draft a guy for what they can be and not what they currently are. I think, and I haven't done this. I haven't put pen to paper yet on my quarterbacks. I think off the top of my head right now, I'd probably go Willis, Pickett, Ridder, Corral, and then it's like a free-for-all at number 5 for me.
All right, so let me ask you this. What do you think the Steelers' interest in quarterbacks is? What do you think their list of quarterbacks is? Not their, top 5, most talented, but we want him first, want him second.
Malik Willis, at this point, probably Desmond Ridder at number 2. Kenny Pickett at number 3. Corral number 4 and Howell. I'll go Corral 4A and Howell 4B.
All right, so we mostly agree there. Mine is Willis, Ridder, Howell, and if we're being honest, Pickett and Corral are 4A, 4B. I just haven't seen you live next door to Kenny Pickett and you're not taking him out to dinner.
Yeah.
You're not spending it all the other scouts and the only other head coach that were at his pro day were talking to Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin didn't have one conversation with the guy. I don't know. I have not felt good about Pickett to the Steelers at all throughout this whole draft process. All right, let's shift gears here, remain with the quarterbacks, but a little different take. We're expecting the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft a quarterback, even if it's not in the first round. At some point in the NFL draft, chances are they're going to draft a quarterback. That will leave them with 4 quarterbacks heading into training camp, which is what they wanted. Dwayne Haskins is on a tender, which is $2.54 million. And Mason Rudolph is, as Darwin, appreciate you, said, is a $5 million deal in 2022. Mitchell Trubisky is presumed right now the starter. You add a rookie in there. At what point do we start talking about, and that point is right now, just to answer my own question, is Mason Rudolph going to get cut by the end of the summer?
I don't think so.
Why?
I
I
just
want to hear your reasoning.
This is where we disagree. So under Tomlin, they've never kept 4 quarterbacks, right? They've always been a 3 quarterback team. I think obviously it's going to be. I think Trubisky and I think whatever rookie they draft have their spots locked and guaranteed for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get into an argument between Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, which has been an argument in Pittsburgh since Haskins got to the Steelers organization. What has Dwayne Haskins done to prove he's a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph? Ignore Trubisky, ignore the rookie quarterback coming in. Just looking at Rudolph versus Haskins, what advantages does he have?
So I don't know if he's done anything that has impressed more than Mason Rudolph. I will say this. Since he's arrived in Pittsburgh, he has gotten 3 times the amount of praise from Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Canada than Mason Rudolph has ever gotten in his career. Ever. I just think that they see the upside. I don't know if there's any upside left, but I think that they see the upside more than Mason, who they hoped had upside and has none.
I agree with that. But can we also agree it's very easy to praise a new guy into organization who you know for a fact does not have to throw a meaningful pass in a football game for you? An example, Mitch Trubisky at Buffalo last year. Trubisky got rave reviews for the Bills because he played behind Josh Allen and didn't have to do anything except get paid $1 million and hold a clipboard. It is super easy to say those things.
It is super easy to say those things. So why hasn't anybody said them about Mason Rudolph?
And here's where the disconnect comes in. I don't think the Steelers like Mason Rudolph's personality. I don't think anybody likes Mason Rudolph's personality. To be very, very honest, kind of seems like a dick. He kind of seems like a dude I would not want to go out and take tequila shots with, right? But
I don't know if I want to take tequila shots with Dwayne Haskins either, but keep going.
Right. I think Mason's a better quarterback, and I think you keep the better quarterback.
Oh, see, I strongly disagree with that one. I don't think Mason's a better quarterback at all.
Dwayne Haskins, okay, look at the preseason last year. Dwayne Haskins had the perfect opportunity to show he was a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. Played against a starting defense, I believe it was the Panthers in week 4 of the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Bombed it.
Did bomb it. I will give you that. Did bomb it. Has not done anything to say he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I just think that traits and upside still left in his game is extremely higher than – I mean, Mason Rudolph can't win a regular season game with his full-time starters on both sides of the ball against the winless Detroit Lions. So it's not as if his opportunities have been good. You know, Mason Rudolph hasn't won a football game in 3 years. That's a long time. I just think that Yeah, I mean, that's very true. If you have three, you don't have one. We agree with that
Exactly.
one. We all agree with that one. I don't think that there's a single quarterback on the Pittsburgh Steelers that's starting quality except for Mitchell Trubisky, and I think that's a very low end starting quality. But I just think that at some point the Steelers have been searching for a way to not make Mason Rudolph their starter.
That is true.
Why are they going to make him as their backup? Because he's not going to be the backup. Like, do you think he's going to
third string? And that's cool.
You're going to pay your third string quarterback $5 million?
Yeah, I mean, okay. What's the dead money on him if he gets cut?
I don't
And
know.
it would have to be a post June 1st designation, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They're not going to cut him until after the preseason when you have to get to the final 53.
All right, so let me ask you this: if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you draft somebody and you have these four quarterbacks, what's holding you back from saying, let's just get rid of Mason Rudolph now, not take that dead money? And we have three quarterbacks. We could go get a fourth somewhere. Feel good about it. Bring Josh Dobbs back. Josh Dobbs is a great competition piece.
Oh, my
goodness.
goodness.
Not a starter, but Josh Dobbs is a quality piece to have on your football team. We've agreed on that in the past.
the quarterback room, not as a player.
But that's what you want. What are you looking for in your fourth quarterback? Are you looking for a starter? You're
not going to carry four quarterbacks. That's the whole point of the conversation, is that we're trying to decide on a guy to cut, so they're not going to carry a fourth quarterback.
Exactly. So what's holding you back if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers from cutting Mason Rudolph before June 1st so that you don't have to deal with this dead money? You save $5 million in cap space, and you could go get a guy like Josh Dobbs. And then that's your fourth quarterback.
Because Mason Rudolph is a better quarterback than Josh Dobbs.
Yes, he is. But Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins have already been removed from contention as the Steelers starter.
Right.
So why, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're thinking Mitchell Trubisky has the upside to be a starter, Mason doesn't. That's why we brought in Mitchell Trubisky and a rookie.
Yeah, I agree.
Why would you not just say, well, might as well just move on now?
Because I agree. I totally agree. And you know what? Maybe in hindsight, they should not have given Mason that $5 million deal. But he's still a better quarterback than Haskins, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with me. He's still a better quarterback than Josh Dobbs. And at the end of the day, you just want the most talented guys to be on your roster in the room. Very likely, what would happen is, okay. Do you think Haskins or Rudolph, if cut in the preseason, would be picked up by another team?
Oh, yeah.
I think
minimum money. Yeah. Okay, so would you trade them? A lot of people in the comments right now are talking about trading them. Would you trade either of them? No, I don't think anybody's taking Haskins. That's what I'm trying to say is, what are you going to get for him? So if your options are to just trash $5 million or get rid of them some way or another, what are you doing? You're Kevin Colbert. What are you doing? Or Brandon
I'm hanging
Hunter,
on Mason Rudolph.
I'm
cutting Dwayne Haskins as the fourth quarterback. Look, at the end of the day, hopefully neither Haskins or Rudolph are going to see time for the Steelers next year. And I go back to this point all the time. If Haskins or Rudolph was as good as anybody and within their respective fan base wants to make them out to be, Haskins would still be the quarterback at Washington, and Mason Rudolph would be the undisputed starter for Pittsburgh. Trubisky would be bagging groceries somewhere, and Desmond Ridder would be a second-round quarterback.
I get all that. That's my argument here, is there's no point for Mason Rudolph to be here or for Dwayne Haskins, but at least Dwayne Haskins is $2.5 million cheaper, and he's younger, and he's got more upside.
It's a little late to be playing the cap game. They've already factored all of that money into their salary cap space. Like, how are we going to sit on a podcast and say, oh, the Steelers have so much money to give Minka another contract and potentially restructure and extend Deontay, and then be like, hey, bro, this guy's $2.5 million cheaper than the other quarterback. They need to cut him. Like that's not a two-way road.
But at that point in the season, it might be. Like by June 1st, it might be.
No,
I just think
it can't be.
If you're
like
looking
that,
to restructure some people, if you're looking to do all these things, like that's the easiest road to take. That's the easiest road to take.
If you want to cut Mason Rudolph because you think Dwayne Haskins is a better quarterback, go for it. If you're cutting Mason Rudolph for the simple fact that he is worth $5 million heading into next season, shouldn't have given that money in the first place.
But you needed to give that money in the first place because you still had hope that Mason Rudolph was the guy. And then throughout the season, you realized again for the third time that he wasn't the guy. And at that point, you had enough.
Like a wise man once told me, hope in one hand and shit in the other and see what fills up faster.
But I don't get your argument. Like your argument is just like take the loss. That doesn't make any sense for an NFL team. But they never just take the loss.
You don't need to take a loss. He's already factored into the salary cap. Like the Steelers are not strapped for cash right now. And
but
so
they always try to carry $10 million into the season. They don't have that $10 million right now.
Well, they try to carry 5.
No, they try to carry 10.
They'll need 10 for the upcoming draft and like the future contracts and stuff like that.
And then they carry 10 in. Trust me, I was sitting right in front of Kevin Colbert when he said we carry $10 million into the season just in case. So they need 10. Right now they have 5. They still need a safety. You're telling me they're not playing the cap game? You're still not playing the money game?
They shouldn't be they shouldn't be playing the cap game because there's no cap game that they need to play.
Yes, it is.
You sat on this podcast 2 weeks ago and told me the Steelers should not be strapped for cash because they can easily restructure a couple guys and get like $30 million or something close to that.
Yeah, but all that money is going to go towards Minka and Deontay.
Why not do that instead of worrying about your third string quarterback making $5 million?
Because it's a third string quarterback. Because you could restructure those guys. Because you could restructure those guys, extend Minka Fitzpatrick and Deontay Johnson, and then you could still carry your $10 million into the season. It just works out so well, and all you're losing is your third string quarterback.
Look, this team is the same team who gave Ladarius Green $20 million and found out after the fact that he had headaches from concussion. So I'm not exactly saying these guys are the brightest with their money. All I'm saying.
But that's a terrible argument. That's just you just admitting you're wrong. They are geniuses with their money. When have the Steelers ever made bad money?
They're geniuses at creating money.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
Not with their money.
But they're creating the money. They already spent it. You're telling me all the moves that the Pittsburgh Steelers have made this offseason suggest that they've been bad with money?
Okay, so if you cut Mason Rudolph, okay, his cap figure goes from $4.04 million to $1.04 million. Okay, you're saving that $3 million. Yeah, $3 million in that. What are you going to do with that $3 million that you cannot do with restructured contracts elsewhere across the board?
But you're not looking to restructure to save the $10 million to just have it sitting there. That's what I'm trying to get at is the Steelers never go and restructure TJ Watt because they need $10 million to go into the season. Yeah, but they would get rid of people to have $10 million to go into the season. And Mason Rudolph is the easiest one to get rid of.
Okay, so why not get rid of him right now?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Why not get rid of him right now and then have Haskins as your quarterback 3 going into the season?
That's what I need. That's what I'm saying is you do that, but you have to get a quarterback first. Because say all the quarterbacks go before 20 and you're sitting there with Carson Strong, you're going, we're going to take Jordan Davis. That sounds like a much better pick.
Yeah.
So they need a quarterback first. So I'm saying by the June 1st deadline. I'm telling you, man, Mason could be gone by June 1st.
This whole argument comes down to who we think is going to be the third quarterback on the roster, right? My argument is Mason is the better quarterback, and your argument is Haskins is the cheaper quarterback.
Yep.
Okay, I will make a gentleman's bet with you right now that Mason Rudolph is going to be the third quarterback over Dwayne Haskins. Whatever you want it to be.
All right. We'll think about. I don't know what we should do, like public push-ups or something.
Public push-ups.
Yeah, I like that.
We should. Let's do a giveaway. How about that?
Okay. Loser this supplies the giveaway. All right. Yep. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for Donnie to be giving away a jersey. We'll even make it better. The jersey of the rookie quarterback. We'll give away the jersey of the rookie quarterback.
Okay, I like that.
If it's not $1 million, but we'll be giving away. We'll do a giveaway. If Mason Rudolph is gone, I'm feeling so good about winning this that it's ridiculous. If we're being honest, ridiculous. And these comments have been going so hard.
Yeah, they have.
because I appreciate all you guys.
He said,
I do
"Yo,
love
buddy's
to
turning
argue.
red." Bro, I promise him sunburn from ASU spring practice. I promise.
Yeah, shut up. You live in Arizona. We get it.
I do.
I'm just saying. I feel really good about it. I've never in a million years expected you to argue that Mason Rudolph should be a quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward, but I'm glad that you did. Because the wonderful fans of All Steelers Talk
don't put words in my mouth. I think he's a better quarterback than Dwayne Haskins, which is what this is coming from. And I don't think the Steelers are going to prioritize the cap hit like you guys think he will.
I would make another argument that I think Josh Dobbs is better than them, but both of them. But I'm not. I don't think I have time to go over everything that I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers would fit. I think in Matt Canada's offense, Josh Dobbs would play decent. I think Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph, I don't know what you do when you plug them into a mobile quarterback offense. I don't know how they're going to compete this summer in Matt Canada's. Like, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to be like, all right, guys, you're going to run. We're running bootlegs. And Mason Rudolph's going to be like, what do you bootleg? I don't even know what that is, man. I ran the shotgun at Oklahoma State. Yeah. I ran Ben's. I couldn't even score 22 points against the Lions on Ben's offense last year. You want me to now be a mobile quarterback? Like, if I'm Mason Rudolph, I would have requested a trade the second Mitchell Trubisky got signed. Easy.
I would agree.
Easy. That being said, do you think that before we head out of here, do you think there's any trade capital here? There's comments in there that say, like, during the draft, blah, blah, blah. You think you can get anything from Mason Rudolph?
I think if you're going to move Rudolph, the draft would probably be the time to do it, especially like if a team is looking for like a quarterback in the like mid to late rounds. Yeah. I just like for a guy who's taken in the second round and has not lived up to his potential like at all. There's like very little I feel like you can kind of squeeze out of him there. Yeah,
I don't know what you'd get from Mason Rudolph. Maybe 7th round pick. I'd trade him for a 6th round pick. I feel like, go ahead, man. That sounds fantastic to me. Dwayne Haskins, I think you can get the same thing. I mean, I think you could trade both of those guys before you could trade Jimmy Garoppolo, right now. Easy. Or 7th. I mean, I'll do anything. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Remember this one. When Donnie has to buy everybody a giveaway, we appreciate you. Make sure to check us out. Make sure to check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. Use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Like this video. Be a friend. Tell a friend to come hang out. Talk some Steelers. We'll see you next time.